Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Isaac Anderson here, host of Big Bang Cinema every single Thursday from 4 to 4:30 on the Facebook page here. And I'm here with Mr. Joshua C.S. You go by C.S. or Caleb Smith? Joshua Caleb Smith?
Well, my name's Joshua Caleb Smith, but if you try searching for Joshua Smith online, you probably won't find me, which is the reason why I go by those two initials. So Joshua CS is
Very nice.
typical.
It sounds very professional. I like that. It sticks. You remember it. So,
Thank you.
Joshua, you are a musician. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Nashville.
Awesome, man. You're surrounded by all the music all around you. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Were you raised in Nashville, or where did Joshua C.S. music love start?
sure. Yeah, I grew up around Nashville, and I started playing music here. Pretty much raised here. I lived between here and Kentucky for a little while, but moved to Los Angeles in college. Dropped out of college, started a band, and that's kind of what I've been doing ever since. I was in LA for about 10 years before moving back here, and yeah, that's kind of how that story goes. That's the short version, anyway.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
find there's a lot of differences between LA and Nashville? The people I've talked to in the music business kind of say they're almost one and the same. I don't know. Somebody that's been through it, can you elaborate
Yeah.
on how they feel different?
Yeah. So I think they're very similar. You know, Nashville is a very cliquey town in terms of the music business. I mean, you got to think about it in two ways too. The industry has two sides to it. There's the public-facing side, and then there's the business side. From a business perspective, you can't do business in music without coming through Nashville at some point. So from that perspective, it's not very different than other towns, except that it's a very southern town. So, like I was saying before, it's very cliquey.
Yeah.
And you got your certain circles of people that love to do certain types of music, all like to write together and be friends. And for that case, actually, it can be very beneficial because you can build up a core group of people, whereas in Los Angeles, it's really dispersed, pretty wide open. And that can also be very good and was great for my development. I got into a lot of different genres with a lot of different people, and you know, I think that those kinds of opportunities present themselves, and sometimes in many ways more affluently in Los Angeles than in Nashville.
I guess it really just depends on like kind of what you're playing, and kind of like where you want to
Yeah.
go with that. Yeah. But yeah, speaking about kind of like the environment that you're in, your music, like I was listening to a lot of your music before this. It's got a really interesting blend of you kind of like the pop sensibilities. It's got a lot of old kind of country music vibes, just like the acoustic guitar going through out most of your songs like that. But the vibe of it just feels like something that connects with a more like a wide audience, and
Mm.
you just kind of get grooving. And the lyricism you have in your songs is really nice, and I thought they feel like they have a really deep story to them. Like, how do you describe your sound?
Well, I appreciate the compliments, or I consider those compliments.
Oh,
I come
they
from
are.
an old school background, so it's mostly old jazz, R&B, and blues that are my influences, which all have stemmed from very very simple roots. I think pop music in general stems from those same kinds of roots, and so that's where I think you get some of the pop sensibilities in my stuff. But most of what I'm trying to do is just tell stories. I think there's two different ways to write a song. One is to evoke emotion or to, speak on the emotion, and the other is to just straight up tell a story, which can evoke emotion and will through the music. But I tend to come from that emotional perspective and try to trap that emotion and then focus on that. And in terms of developing the music, it's very much centered around just however those lyrics make me feel, and then playing on what that. I guess it's all about staying in the moment and staying attached to that original feeling that sparked the interest in doing that song. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you can definitely hear that when you hear your music. And I think you also can see that when you watch some of your music videos that you got up there. Specific, I have the name written down, but there was one music video in particular. I believe it was The Water Keeps Rising. That's it. I couldn't remember the name. But you have a projector going on you at the time. You're like looking into the camera. I feel like that's got like some sort of deep meaning. I don't know if I exactly caught it, but I thought it was really neat. Do you come up with those kind of ideas?
Yeah, so that song actually sparked my interest in doing that whole record, and became a focal point for that record. That record is entitled Roots, and it was all about tying to the roots of my musical heritage and history, and what makes me interested and keeps me going in music, what I love about it as an art form and as a craft. And then that song is very much about similar ideas in terms of how we react to life scenarios as a culture. And I think it's across multiple societies. As a current culture, we're so chaotic and we're so aggressive about our approach to things. And so that video incorporates a lot of just imagery that I grabbed really off of YouTube. I produced that video myself, and kind of wrote that whole concept out. The whole idea, that relationship of the projector, of it being projected on me, is about showing the inspiration and the turmoil that came as a part of writing that song. Those lyrics start out really personal, and then shift into something sort of global. And the projector, on top of me, and then those images that you get spliced in as that's happening, that's all about expressing thoughts that sort of go on in a person's head. And it's almost, it was meant to be a visual representation of those thoughts being triggered, coming in, and how to play during a conversation or during an average day. We're inundated with so much information all the time. And I kind of wanted to create a visual representation of that direct inspiration for that song. So that's the best way that I could come up with to do that.
Yeah, and as I was watching it, I kind of got something close to that. Like, to me, I almost got, like, especially at the end, like when you see the water literally like taking over that little area in the video, the clip going there. I almost took it like the projector going on you, and like, you're just kind of standing there looking at the camera, almost kind of like we're seeing all this kind of stuff, but we're not really doing anything to kind of, to change it, or we're not doing anything to, like, we're just actively sitting there and letting it happen to us. Awesome. So along with being just like a flat out musician, I heard you also do a lot of stuff for other artists, like produce a lot. How do you go about producing another person's work? Like when you're doing your own work, you seem to have a very clear idea like where you're going, and like what you want to do. But working with other artists is always a different kind of road. And I was just wondering, as a musician, how does your job as a producer kind of differ from that? How do you try to get other people's thoughts onto, a record?
Sure. Well, you gotta, music as a relationship, as a craft, is all about listening. You gotta, and that starts from, if you're, the capacity I work with other artists is either just to co-write or to help produce on a song, rearrange. There's a lot of different capacities. I work with a lot of different artists and other producers too. But that being said, to figure out what somebody else is going for, in terms of what does this lyric actually mean? Where are you trying to go with this? Is this first or third person? Because we're switching back and forth. Is there a reason for that? That's really where I think I spend a lot of time with other artists, is figuring out direction, figuring out the point of the song. Some songs don't have a point, The Joker is a great song, and I think the title speaks for itself in terms of what the song's about. It almost doesn't matter, And a lot of songs tend to be like that. But then, there's so much you can do with music, and there's so much you can do with a message. And so I spent a lot of time focusing on the message, and then creating a landscape with the sound that helps to illustrate that same type of message. Again, for me, it's all about emoting something, an emotion as a motive for why someone might want to listen to the song, or why the song should even get finished. My dad is a visual artist and a professor, and so I grew up having this project-based process to things, and so everything becomes about the process. And I think that that's just something I inherited from him, but it's also a way that I was taught to figure out how to do all this. I was never taught how to write music, and I've only learned a little bit about how to produce it. So it's been life experience and relationships with other artists and producers that have helped me to find my place in it, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, my man. Very, very nice. And along with your work as just like an independent musician doing your own stuff, you also do a lot of stuff for film, I've learned.
Yeah. So I've a lot of my music has been licensed for TV and film, and then I've just played various roles in other music for TV and film as well, not just my own.
Yeah, I see there was one called The Pinhurst, Silent for the Dead. What was your role in that one?
So that one, I composed all the music for that one. I was introduced to that film through a producer at CBS Films, who has he has his own independent company that was consulting. I don't even know what role he had on that film, but anyway, I ended up composing about 20 or 30 minutes of music for that, which they used in different ways. Unless you're directly scoring a film anymore, like getting into the studio and taking the final cut and creating a score around that, or working directly with the director or editor to score around the concept. A lot of what happens now in film composition is you give them bits of sound that end up getting designed into the film. And so I took a bunch of key scenes that they had sent me and composed music for that, scored that portion of the film, and then they would end up reapplying a bunch of that. And then we did a title track, and that title track got used quite a bit. Title track was actually produced with a guy named Alex Elena. He's a Grammy-winning producer. He did Alice Smith's first record. I think he might have had something to do with her second record too, but that first record won like Best New Artist of the Year or something, and she got signed to Sony after that. But he's another friend of mine in LA, and we did that title track together.
Very sweet, man. Awesome. You've been all around the music business, man. You seem to know your way around that. Yeah, I saw on your bio you actually went to school for music business too. So
I did. For a couple of years at Belmont. Like I said, I dropped out to join a band. But
yeah. Do you find the education you learned at the school, or the stuff you've learned by actually being in the business has helped you more?
I think that these days it's mostly about the experience that I've had, because I'm far enough out of school that and I've had enough life experience to show me, where I want to sit in the business, which is very different than kind of how my initial approach. But that being said, I mean, you learn so much in school. One of the key things that they teach you at Belmont, the very first thing, the very first professor in my very first class at Belmont, was everything that you learn over the next few years before you get your degree is going to be pretty much obsolete by the time you get out, because the technology is changing so quick. I mean, you have to remember, this is 2003. This is right after Napster and all of that stuff. And when 2003 is the year that pretty much everyone I work with describes as when it all kind of hit the fan and scattered across the board. Music is a totally different thing now than it's ever been before. And so from that the advice I got from that was to sort of take everything in stride. And I actually had moved to LA based on a scholarship to go do animation at, I can't even remember what the college was. It was some college in Glendale. And I left a full ride at Belmont to go do that, and then just decided after the relief work I was doing to just go, and if I'm going to do music, I might as well just live in it and pursue it and dream about it every day and try to do everything I can to be a part of it. So it became all about the experience at that point.
Give me your number, babe. I want you lost in my room. I wanna save the day when I got lost in you. Give me your problems, babe. Let's lay them on the sheets. Let me make love to you. I wanna be the one you need. We made our first mistake, like a hot air balloon. No direction made. We just aimed to console. In the silent room, you saw me breathe my name. Didn't say what you know. I just wanna know, did you ever hope to stop? Just let it go. And I know it's just the start, but I hope you hear my heart. Give me your number, babe. I want you lost in my room. I wanna save the day when I got lost in you. Give me your problems, babe. Let's lay them they take the lead, but all along you knew how to make a blind man see. I just wanna know, did you ever hope to start just letting go? And I know it's just the start, but I hope you hear my heart. And I wanted you to know, 'cause the truth is you're my star, and I wanna be a part of your growing old. Never let me go. Give me your number, babe. I want you lost in my room. I wanna save the day when I got lost in you. Give me your problems, babe. Let's lay them on the sheets. Let me make love to you. I wanna be the one you need. Give me your number, babe. I want you lost in my room. I wanna save the day when I got lost in you. Give me your problems, babe. Let's lay them on the sheets. Let me make love to you. I wanna be the one you need. Give me your number, babe. I want you lost in my room. I wanna save the day when I got lost in you. Give me your problems, babe. Let's lay them on the sheets. Let me make love to you. I wanna be the one you need. Give me your number, babe. I want you lost in my room. I wanna save that day when I got lost in you. Give me your problems, babe. Let's lay them on the sheets. Let me make love to you. I wanna be the one you need.
I got started producing my own music actually out of necessity, because when you're an independent artist, you tend to have to come up with ways to get it done, and so you can stay relevant, you know. And you want to keep your craft going, and you want to continue practicing what you want to do. So I had learned how to produce at RCA Studio B, actually, in Nashville. And,
Quite a place to learn.
It's a good, yeah.
It's a good
Belmont
one.
has great facilities. They're comparable with, I mean, they're on par with anywhere you can possibly go in the world. And I had great teachers, but once I got into the world of live music and I put my band together, you know, our very first show out as an ensemble, we had an interesting encounter where Prince was in the audience and actually asked to sit in with us. So we ended up playing with Prince our very first show as an ensemble in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And there was a guy there named Darren Johnson who I had been sitting in with his jazz band. He was interested in me and wanted to do something together. And I think after he saw that, he was basically like, yeah, let's do a record. And I went from, and Darren played keys for Miles Davis. It was his first professional gig. And went from there to MD for Alanis Morissette and Seal. And so this guy is no slouch. He's one of the top 10 keyboardists in the world.
Wow.
Offered to produce a record. And when I went into that studio, our producer was his drummer, Gary Novak. Gary Novak, if you're a jazz drummer, you know who he is. He's Chick Corea's drummer, and he was also in Miles Davis's band and tours all over Europe all the time. My drummer was 19 at the time and grew up with posters of Gary on his wall and ceiling, basically. That's who this guy was. And so this is my introduction to professional, like, let's get in a studio and make a record as a band. And I was just like, this is crazy to be independent musicians and be in this world with this caliber of musicianship. I learned a lot about that communication, what that's like, what that process is like, from some serious professionals, I guess is what I'm getting to. And once I had that standard and that bar, I just began looking for those same kinds of musicians, those same kinds of producers. I've always been independent. I've never been backed by a label. So it's always been about continuing to establish that bar and that standard. And so when I decided, or when I had the need to begin producing music here in Nashville, and I didn't have those same resources, I just kind of tapped back into my old production learning and skills, and I had Pro Tools, and I'd been doing demos and mixtapes and stuff anyway. So I just continued to do that, and it evolved from, one guitar and one vocal to 4 guitars and 8 vocals to let's get in MIDI and start figuring out how to use a keyboard, and teaching myself more and more and more until eventually now, the records that I'm putting out right now, I would still call them mixtapes. I would call them demos. They're getting mixed and mastered by the same guy that did that first record for me in Los Angeles. But yeah, I'm doing it all here in the box in my little home studio, and I'm fortunate to have that set up. But it's been mostly just self-taught, figured out as I go, and if you're not getting the right sound, you just ask around, figure out how to get that sound, just like anybody else does.
Yeah.
And keep pushing forward,
Thank you so much for talking to me. Real quick before we go, where can the people find you?
Well, my main website is joshband.com. But you can also just go on Spotify, look up Joshua C.S, or anywhere that you listen and stream music. You can pretty much find me. So.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. From me and the Studio 67 crew, we love your music, and we play you all the time. I wish you the best of luck where you got to go. Keep in touch with us, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching.
Take care, guys.